Hey, folks. In our last conversation, many of you were so gracious enough to share your story and where you are with navigating life, whether it be job loss or career transition or moving to a new country or whatever. And I thank you for that. So, in the comments of the last video, we had a lot of people going through career and job transition. So, that's what I'm going to spend time in this video discussing. And next video, I'll focus this specifically for the entrepreneurs who having trouble kind of navigating through this time. So if you haven't seen any of these videos, these are just the conversations that I wish I would have had with someone when I lost everything and had to start all over in 2008 and 2009. And right now, it looks very, very reminiscent of 2008 and 2009. We're going to be supportive and hopefully give you some tips that you can use throughout this. So, one of the big things that you need to remember is that you are not the only one going through this, okay? I know it can feel very depressing and can feel very isolated, but understand the whole, not just the United States, the whole world is going through some changes. One of the benefits of it not just affecting you and it affecting everyone is there going to be some accommodations that are going to be made. It's unclear what those accommodations are right now, but from 2008, 2009, mortgage lenders had to adjust, lien holders had to adjust, everyone had to adjust because it was just this massive, massive job loss, okay? So I know it feels icky, it feels scary, and I get it. But hopefully, after this conversation, this can help someone put in a couple steps and actions so that you're planting your seeds now so that when things start to change, you'll be ready to jump on the next opportunity. Okay? So let's head over to the computer so I can show you some websites and some resources you can use. Okay, before we hop on the computer, let's talk briefly about temporary agencies. And in a moment where companies are laying off everyone, temporary agency or temporary employment agencies tend to do very well because usually companies laid off so many people, they still need people to do the work. And so they go the temporary agency route because they don't have to pay for health insurance and all types of benefits that cost money. So here they can contract these companies, and these companies, if you're on their roster, they will contact you when various positions become available. The great thing about these is that they can turn into a potential permanent position if that's what you're looking for. If someone's tested you out for a couple weeks and they like you, they're more likely to keep you if there is an opening in their position. These don't always turn into a permanent situation, but if you're in this area where you're having or you've experienced job loss, these can be a great alternative because they can gift you some contracts here and there while you look or while you go through your career transition. So please don't sleep on temporary agencies. Let's go over a couple. So this one is Kelly Services, and Kelly Services has been out for a while. And one of the interesting things that I don't think I knew until I started doing research for this video is that they're actually global. So if you come here to select a country, they're in various different countries and you can search. So let's just go to United States really quickly. There may be a Kelly Services that is in your local city or town, so you want to check that. For United States and for Europe, they have specific places to go. So this is for North America. You can work with Kelly Services, and these are the EU operations. So if you're in Europe or you're moving to Europe or you want to move to Europe, here is some options in the European market. Okay, so this is the list of Kelly Services, their physical locations all across the United States. And you can check and see if there's a location in your city or town. I'm going to pull up the Kelly Services in Portugal because most of you know I live in Portugal. Fun fact, the computer I'm on right now doesn't have a VPN, so I can't make my IP address look like I'm in the US, so you're going to have to see what it looks like on Portugal, but just go on the US one and it'll make sense. So here's the Portugal one, and so you have candidates, which is what you will learn here, but here you have your areas of expertise, and so you can go here based on what your area of expertise is, and then put yourself on file, your resume and that type of thing. If you have a physical location, you can go there. They may have some tests or some assessments they want you to do so that when they present you to the company or the client, they'll have a full picture of what your capabilities are. Okay, so next on the list we have Creative Circle, and I had used Creative Circle personally in the areas of marketing when I was kind of first just getting started. And so if you want to go from temp to a permanent position, these temporary staffings are actually great options because if a client likes you and they already have a need, a lot of times they'll offer you a job if that's what you want. So consider that. So, and here's just an example of some of the companies: Microsoft, AT&T, Charles Schwab. There's a lot of companies that go to these temporary staffing agencies because they've laid people off and they don't want to pay for health insurance and all those other benefits initially, particularly if they're not quite sure if it's going to be a good fit. So here is some industries that Creative Circle focuses on specifically. So they have freelance staffing, full-time placement, and managed services. And so here's the area: UI design, copywriting, marketing. I had experience with the marketing aspect, and for temporary contract positions, it did work very well. This is what I want you to understand really quickly. It's a lot of competition that is out here. So when it comes to getting positions or contracts or jobs, you have to think outside the box. You can't just go to job boards like Indeed and because it's blasting out to hundreds of thousands of people. So you have to do what another person may not do. Okay. So a lot of this is going to deal with relationships. I know you can send an email, you can put your resume on all of these different sites and it feels like you've done something, which you have. But remember, the world still consists of relationships. Don't let social media get it twisted. The world still strongly consists of relationships. So you're going to have a hiring manager or a recruiting person that's responsible for that particular industry. Now, you'll get their name, you'll get their information, learn more about them. Because if they like you and you have the skills necessary, they will keep recommending jobs to you. Because wouldn't you want to recommend jobs to someone that you actually like? So concentrate on the relationship building during this process. It's not about what someone can do for you, it's what you can do for someone else. And so if you treat these recruitment and brand managers and things like that like people, which they are, they're more likely to consider you because the average person isn't doing that. The average person is just coming out and saying what they want instead of considering the person that can help them. In all of these aspects, these are the people you really want to know. You want them to know how you think outside the box. You want them to know some of the projects you've been working on. And if you can't say that in a resume, you can do a quick video and share that with the hiring manager, because when they are the ones that talk to the client, they're the ones that talk to Microsoft. They have a connection with Charles Schwab. They have these connections. And so when they are fighting or advocating for you, you want them to have the best information forward. And they can't have that if they don't know it. So sometimes it does go beyond a resume. When I was contracting with various marketing firms, and if I took a contract position or a temporary position, if I was good at my job, naturally the employer wants to keep you. But because you came as a contract, you can sometimes negotiate your own process. You can say, listen, I don't necessarily want to become an employee, but I am interested in being a 1099 employee and maybe working this amount of hours. Understand, you only have that level of negotiation if you're good at what you do. If you're just the average person and you haven't increased your skills and they can find one of you everywhere, you can't negotiate like that. So whatever you do, make sure if you have a skill right now and you're serving an industry, upskill in that industry, which we'll talk about in a minute. But understand the negotiation that you have is based on the value that you give. So again, with creative services, there are a variety of options and positions, and go ahead and apply. Let them know what your skill set is, what you do well. Include a little Loom video, which I'll go in detail next video about how you can use that to get more contracts and clients. But go ahead and sign up with these various agencies. So next on the list, we have Robert Half. So of course, same process. You're going to put in your job title, position you're looking for, and your location. So again, that's Robert Half. And I will include a link to all of these websites in the description box. Okay, so this is Ronad, which is also a company that does global staffing. So for those of you who are interested in moving out the country, this can also be an option for you. So click here to find your job. And then popular searches: jobs in the US, Canada, Sweden. Interesting. Jobs in tech, education, and healthcare. You can pick your industry. And one of the things that Ronad had that I thought was really interesting, if you want to work abroad, please browse the available jobs on our website in the country of your choice. So for those of you who are interested in moving abroad, and of course you have to have a job, this is a really good option. So check out Ronad. Now just remember, if you're an immigrant and you're in another country and you get a job, if you lose that job, you may lose your visa, your working visa that's allowing you to stay in the country. So proceed with caution. But I wanted people to know about that. Okay, next we have Aerotech, and Aerotech is more so geared toward individuals who are in kind of physical labor types of positions. So here you see maintenance mechanic, welder, heavy equipment operator, warehouse supervisor, that type of thing, electrician. So if you have that type of expertise, definitely look at Aerotech. I think Aerotech is only in the US, but I might not be. Oh, okay. Maybe they have one in Canada. So check out Aerotech if you have kind of the physical labor type of skills. Now, in this process, you're going to have to sell yourself, right? And sometimes you may have been doing a job for a very long time and you haven't had to sell yourself or put your best foot forward in a while, and you might be a little rusty. So let's talk about that. If you are very clear what your strengths are and maybe what some of your weaknesses are, that's great. But if you don't quite know what those are, I want you to consider taking a personality test. So this is Myers-Briggs, and Myers-Briggs has the infamous Myers-Briggs personality test. And this is basically the framework and general type concept. If you don't know your personality type, you can take it at the Myers-Briggs type indicator assessment, and they make you pay for it, but I'm about to show you a website that will allow you to do it for free. The Myers-Briggs framework is kind of like that personality test that can help you understand yourself a little bit more, the type of people or personalities you're attracted to, whether to be working with. It can pull out some of your strengths and some of your weaknesses so that you know that, and even present yourself even forward when you are looking for a job or you're trying to sell yourself or your business. It really helps pull that out. And so if you haven't taken the Myers-Briggs test, I really recommend it. But the actual institution charges money for it. It's much more thorough. And then this is 16personalities.com. They have a free personality assessment. You can take it here as well. So kind of understanding personalities and personality types is a bit helpful when you're working with other work colleagues and being sensitive in certain areas and considerate and empathetic. So I would definitely recommend it. And if you're going through this process of transition, I think this is an ideal time to look at something like this if you haven't before. So we're going to have a very real and transparent conversation about reskilling and upskilling. And I'm going to tell you what I experienced just recently, I guess more like 10 months ago, that triggered me to know, okay, I got to get my skills up, right? And this is for everyone. We're having a conversation. This is the community, right? So let me tell you what happened. So many of you know I have a digital marketing company. And so what it is I create, or my company creates content for a variety of different companies in different industries that attracts their ideal customer through SEO optimized articles or videos or educational campaigns or ads, paid ads. We do a variety of different things so that we can find our client's customer online and get them to our client. Now, one of the ways we did that was through contact and written content specifically. We would SEO optimize an article, and then the ideal client may be searching for this information, and then they will find my client. So here's what happened when the introduction of large language models was introduced. Creating content was now accessible to everyone very quickly, and in some cases better than the content you could get from a writer. Yikes. Okay. And let me tell you how that happens. I could easily pay a writer $3,000 a month for a variety of different writing assignments that they were responsible for a variety of clients. Now, when the large language model came out, I was able to use AI to write search engine optimized content. And for an article that was about 2,000 words, SEO optimized, it cost me like 23 cents per content. There is no way that a human can be that efficient. It's impossible. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, hell. Good news is if you're an entrepreneur, which we'll deal with the entrepreneurs next video. If you're an entrepreneur, this can be a great way. Introducing AI into your business can be a great way to do things you weren't able to do before because you didn't have staff or because you didn't have the money to hire staff. This is game changing, but it also scared the hell out of me. So what concerned me, AI is going to continue to create content quickly and at just pennies on the dollar, how is my industry going to be affected? Right? I had to have a real conversation with myself. How is my industry going to be affected? Not well. And I was wondering, like, why would a company pay me if they can do this internally at a very low cost? And I'm going to tell you, before I had the real conversation with myself and I decided to upskill, I was sad because I was like, how am I don't know how to adjust. And there's a lot of industries that are experiencing that. If you're a writer specifically, they are laying off writers for various publications, and they're hiring AI staff writers. So there's a lot of people and there's a lot of industries that are going to have this come to Jesus moment with themselves. And I was one of them. So here's what I did. I sulked about it for a couple of days, and I'm just not the person that's just gonna be like, "Oh, woe is me." So I actually went to ChatGPT, and I was like, with AI, how am I supposed to be competitive in an industry in which AI is being implemented? And it answered me. I don't remember what it said verbatim. I'm sure I still have the conversation. But basically, it gave a list of kind of generic things. And then from the generic things, I had to find something specifically that I wanted to do. And if you haven't worked with large language models, or if you're interested, that's kind of what you have to nail down. You have to get very, very specific to get the output that you want. So what I end up doing is taking the time, and it's now had been 10 months, to create tools, AI tools that I know that my clients can use. Even though AI exists, the experience that I've had over the past 20 years is still mine. How to do things quicker, faster, or better than maybe another person in the same industry is something that I have developed. So if I have this expertise, it's probably I can create tools that will help my clients. Now, granted, I may not be able to charge as much as if I had of when I had a whole staff of people around them, but also it doesn't cost me as much because I don't have a whole staff of people around them. So making those transitions within my business, and like I said, I'll do the video for us entrepreneurs after this one. But I want you to understand the importance of knowing and identifying that the upskill is necessary. For me to be in this area, I had to learn Python. I had to I had to increase my experience with prompt engineering so that I can get the outputs that I wanted. And that is what helped me create the tools necessarily that can help other entrepreneurs and help other businesses. So that's where I've transitioned over the past 10 months. And that was necessary because my industry is getting ready to be obliterated. So that's just what it is. And so, yeah, that's the conversation I had to have with myself. And I think if you can have this type of conversation with yourself and think about, okay, so what do I want to do? How do I want to plan my life so that it is what I want it to be when all this is over? And so when we're talking about planning our lives, I knew that when I lost everything in 2008 and I had to rebuild, I remember that I worked so hard and then I lost everything, right? And so I didn't even have the life I necessarily wanted. Like I had money, but that was taken very quickly. I didn't travel. I didn't see people I love as much as I wanted to. So I wasn't really looking, I didn't really have the life that I wanted. I just had stuff, right? So if you're in the process, the good thing about this cleansing and this transition is that let's say you happen to lose a couple things or a couple friends who weren't your friends in the first place. Now you're coming to this world and all of that isn't important anymore. You at this point you really learn what's important to you. And I think if I didn't have to start over in 2008, 2009, I don't know if I would have the life that I love now, because starting over was something I've done before. So when it came to just moving to a new country by myself, not knowing anyone, to me that may have been easier than it may have been for someone else who hasn't had to transition before. That's why these particular videos are so important to me, because if you are going through transition, I want you to hear this message, because I didn't hear it until it was like late. If you're purposely trying to plan what you want your life to look like after all the dust settles, it will help you figure out what direction to go now. So for example, I knew that I didn't travel, I didn't see people as much as I wanted. And so when it was time and I was done being emotional, I got up and was like, okay, so what are some types of careers where I can work remotely, right? And so for me, I chose digital marketing. Now, you don't necessarily have to go into the digital marketing field, especially if I just told you it's being obliterated. But you can consider what types of jobs will allow me to work remotely. And ever since the global shutdown, there are more of those types of jobs than not. So whether you want to go technical and you want to go to maybe cloud computing or learn something in the AI space, which is the transition that I'm doing, look for those types of positions that will allow you to be remote. If being remote is part of what you want your future life to look like, whatever you can, if you sit down with yourself and it's like, well, what do I want life to look like? Like, have I really been living a life that made me so much joyful before? And if not, you can start making these adjustments right now. You can start going in the direction and making these transitions because all hell is breaking loose. And people are going to be more understanding now if there's a gap in your resume or if you switch one career to another. That's more understandable now because it's affecting the whole world. So I encourage you, even if it hurts, to don't give up, still make the steps and move forward and just think differently. Reach out to your friends and family. Don't do this isolated. Communicate with people, ask for ideas, hug and get connected with the people that you love because this is the time you're going to need it. Okay, next we're going to talk about networking. And we talked about this briefly when we were discussing getting connected with HR recruitment people. But I also want you to talk about just networking in general in your industry. Relationships are important, okay? Relationships are super important. You have to know how to communicate with people who you don't know. You have to be able to be empathetic and sympathetic and not just go to people based on what they can do for you, but have it be, as Christine say, be in a spirit of reciprocity. Because when someone's fake or they just want whatever, you feel that. People feel that. And you don't want no one feeling that when you want to connect with them on a level, right? Particularly if you want a job, if you want their contract, their business. You don't want people to feel like you're just contacting them because you want something. So if that is the way that you approach life, that's a problem. And if you need to get better at that, there's ways to do it. So here we're talking about networking. So understand this. Now in networking, it's important to understand there is a national association of everything. Like literally whatever industry that exists, there's a natural association with it. So here we're on Google and you can just Google natural association up. I just have natural association up. Here we have realtors, insurance commissioners, manufacturers, anything. So the one that I work with, National Association of Women, women in construction, women business owners. This is what it is. So here, in a lot of these agencies, they have a annual membership. This is not free. You will have to pay for an annual membership. And so the great thing about any of the associations is that they may have a local chapter in which you can network and get to know various other, in this case, women business owners in your local city or town. Most of these membership places have training and they have various things that they do to benefit people who are part of their association. Some of the trainings they do is in person, so you get to network and meet people in person, some of your potential clients. Some of the things are online. But what I love is they have various training sessions. And if you have a certain expertise, you can apply to teach a training session. When you teach a training session and you know what you're talking about, and you speak to 50 or 60 people, that's a year's worth of clients right there. So really look into national associations. This doesn't just apply to the U.S. The U.S. has a ton, but Europe also has various national associations as well. But the U.S. has a ton. So whatever your industry is, consider joining them in networking. Now, this is not going to lead to a job immediately. But what it does is you are as valuable as your network. Okay. And if you have strong relationships in your network, you can call upon them and say, hey, I'm doing this. Do you know this person? Like you guys know the power of networking, right? So be sure to consider these types of things in your networking. And just Chamber of Commerce. I've done stuff with the Chamber of Commerce in Washington, D.C. and Maryland. I personally wasn't necessarily a fan because I felt like the people who did go to the chamber events, they were startup businesses just like me, and they didn't have the money to pay for my services. So very early on, when I was an entrepreneur, I realized Chamber of Commerce wasn't necessarily the thing for me. They may have some interesting training, but as far as networking, I didn't find it to be that great. That was my personal experience. You may have another experience. Okay, how you feel? Now, you can take one of these techniques and just spend a day filling out information with the various temporary agencies. You can spend another day, doing a self assessment. Just, take some action and feel confident. The community is here for support. So leave any comments that you have. If you're struggling with anyone, put in a comment so that we know. And if I can't help it, maybe someone in the community can. So, till next time.